Hello and welcome to the AEW Double or Nothing 2025 preview. I'm Michael Sidgwick, joined by fellow Dudley boy Michael Hamflett to discuss everything that's in store for us on this weekend show. But before we get into it, if you're a fan of this sort of thing, make sure to subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube for daily wrestling podcasts where we preview and review Dynamite, Collision, Raw, SmackDown, the show formerly known as NXT 2.0, pay-per-views, premium live events. We have wrestler interviews on occasion, a lot of which from WrestleMania weekend are filtering through as we speak. We answer your wrestling questions. We host on occasion roundtable wrestling discussions and host a roundup of the week complete with a bloody good quiz, of course, on wrestle culture. Hamflett, I have written down in front of me, could have just brought my laptop up, but I have written down in front of me thus far. We should mention we are recording this at 10 a.m.-ish UK time, so I'm expecting, 4 more for the pre-show, but everyone forgets about that. We'll just forget about that. At time of recording, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Anna, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 main card matches for this pay-per-view. And while I'm more emotionally invested in some more than others, there's some where I'm like, if I missed it, or for whatever reason we had a Halloween Havoc 98 situation halfway through and it just never got seen, I wouldn't be like, oh, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
There's not one match here thus far where I'm like, oh, God, I'm going to forget that this is happening and be really annoyed because these shows are long and I'm old. And I know not everyone's in their 30s anymore, but I'm old still, even though it's still in my 30s. There is not one that'll come around and I'm thinking, oh, God, I can't be arsed with this, actually. Just get to the big matches. This show's long. What I'm getting at is that I'm very excited about this. So much so, actually, that I'm going to start to worry about it and maybe I'll be negative about some of the matches. But in my head, in my strange broken brain, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
This looks like it's not going to be as special as something like All Out 2021. But realistically, when you look at it and take that in consideration with the wider form that AEW's in, the momentum, the fact that I think this is a brand new pay-per-view market, so this crowd should be well up for like a big proper AEW night, and you know that these are some of the best nights in pro wrestling history, quite frankly. A total potential all-killer, zero filler. I can't remember the last time that happened, and I'm really, really excited as a result.
Yeah, this week has been a bit of a throwback in that regard because before Dynamite, I was looking at the card, and obviously they've formalized a lot of stuff this week, but I was really, really excited about the major matches. And then after Dynamite, I looked at the card again, and I was going down, and I had emotional investment in pretty much everything that had been announced. And then I was thinking about how the fact that this is in Phoenix, which, as you say, a brand new market, and we've got the branding below us here that just looks stunning. It's almost like the pay-per-view version of the move to the smaller venues for TV.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just a new crowd. It's the fact that the aesthetic that was maybe in need of a little bit of a
refresh,
has had one right at a
Neon
time.
cacti.
Neon cacti.
Looks wonderful.
Like a lit-up, shimmering desert of a different kind. Like, it's happened at a point where AEW itself, also in need of a refresh from 23-24, has had one. And, wrestling is so often, like we've covered it in Best Match Ever. You can watch all the episodes from season 1 on there. We've talked about it when the times have been amazing for either company. It's so often about the stars aligning, isn't it? And about things happening. Like, even wrestlers themselves will talk about how so much of it's about timing and luck. And this feels a little bit of a convergence of that. A lot of really good stories have come at a time where the pay-per-view is feeling fresher again, new again, and that was so key to the excitement in the week leading up to those early AEW pay-per-views. We would talk about it like, this is how he's supposed to feel. Not that like, oh, it's the monthly show, it's the churn, it's the whatever. Churn till we get the show done. This is, I wish it was Sunday already. And I definitely have that with Double or Nothing.
Yeah.
I wish it was Sunday now. There's a lot of wrestling this weekend, by design. WWE, as they do.
Pricks. They are total and utter pricks, man.
Counter-programming. Trying to take the conversation away, trying to take the interest and people's energy away from pro wrestling. Battleground, I think, will be the one that will go somewhat head-to-head with this. But if you're watching both,
Why would you?
You don't have to love both equally. Never do that. But if you're watching both...
It's impossible, some might say.
Yeah, they're very, very different. If you're watching both, as we do and as we cover, this has got all of my heart this weekend. There are elements of the other shows that I'm into. It's this one. They're really onto something. And it's not... Sorry, big picture has got me as excited as some of the individual matches here. The events that will go down here are massive, but it also feels like it exists to set you up for the real magic that's still to come.
Yeah.
Like it's got that sense of, oh, this is big, but like a Rumble to a Mania for All In almost.
Yeah.
This is big, but like the big stuff's even further. How exciting is it we're not even at the big yet, we're just at the medium big. There's a real vibe around it, which I love.
The usual crack over the past, well, let's face it, post-brawl out until very recently, in my opinion, is, should be great on the night. There's a few too many matches. I can't be arsed with how long these shows are. Won't sort of solve any of the systemic issues plaguing the promotion, but how can you be too much of a pissing complainer about this show? Nah, all killer, no filler. Looking forward to every minute of it. And as you've just eloquently pointed out, like All In, that rumored card looks unbelievable. But
the journey lasts longer. You want to live in the anticipation longer.
And I'm finally living in it all over again. So we'll go match by match here now that we've given you our broad thoughts. Starting with Paragon, that is Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, and Roderick Strong versus the Don Callis family, comprised on this night anyway of Kyle Fletcher, Konosuke Takeshita, and Josh Alexander. Now, I suspect this exists because they've kind of shown you it. For Fletcher to pin Adam Cole or one of his teammates, which is sort of the same thing in that weird wrestling way. It's like, you didn't get beat, but I beat your pal, so I'll have your title, please, and I'll have a title match. So it looks like Kyle Fletcher versus Adam Cole, and it feels like this is a flashy, going to be an excellent match, excuse to build to it, no complaints from me. Actually, I've got one complaint, and I've got one worry ahead of this, like, completely inoffensive, should be cracking bit of trios action that could complement the card very much. But I'm going to get to the bad things before I get to the good, before I get to Hamflett. Not necessarily bad, okay. The potential bad thing about this is Kyle Fletcher, I'm sorry, is like potential world title level. I do not want to see him consigned to the dustbin that is the TNT title division. I suspect he'll get way more match time. He absolutely loves it. I suspect that he'll try as hard as possible to elevate that title. I think he's done enough to get rewarded with something more significant, and I would argue that it's the fourth most significant of the 4 men's AEW titles. So I'm a little bit annoyed that Fletcher has been, it just feels like, you need something to do as a reward because he's so over. When I think they could go with a bit of conviction, they could go even further with him, but that might not even happen yet. Who the hell knows? Maybe I'm jumping the old gun. The worry is that AEW, in addition to, of course, its rich, storied history with 4-way women's matches, has another less than ideal, but it's not really worth complaining about, tradition with trios matches on pay-per-view, where there's been a couple I can recall, or at least one I can recall off the top of my head going, did that really need to go so long? A couple of Copeland trios matches going 18 minutes and missing the peak. Yeah. I half worry that'll happen here. If this is total all action, maximum duration of 15 maximum, this could be awesome, because I'm looking forward to Kyle Fletcher in particular tearing it up with Roderick Strong. That could be just lunatic, hard-hitting, explosive. They look like they're trying to burst their own skin as they're trying to get into each other with like high knees and all the rest of it and high kicks. Like their sequence in particular could be unbelievable. Kyle O'Reilly, more so than Adam Cole. They're telling the story that Adam Cole's coming back into form. You'd hope so since he's a champion. But I don't really feel it necessarily. The Garcia stuff, I like one of the trilogy. The rest of it kind of fell flat to me. But Cole, in small doses, in a trios environment, as we've seen on Collision off and on, has been strong. But Takeshita and Roderick Strong could be tremendous as well. So if this is a nice complement to the card, you could even make the argument that you could open with this, because it's not the most over group of guys, particularly on the babyface side. You could open with this and go 12. I'm once again asking for a North American a United States wrestling promoter, and by that I mean Triple H or Tony Khan, to give us a short opener and not a main event match masquerading as an opener. All too often, it's like having stew for breakfast. So I do have reservations about how much I'll care about this one, but then I'll see Roddy and Fletcher go one-on-one, and it's going to be sick.
Yeah. There was a phrase you used there about complimenting the card. This match is sort of because if you've analysed.
I only go negative because I'm excited. That's how my mind works.
Well, but you've sort of picked apart the individual components there, and there's no real dead weight at all. And even if there was, even if your taste, say, with someone like, your mileage might be varying on Adam Cole at the moment, but narratively, he's a champion. So he's certainly not being cast or presented as deadweight or anything. This match is a sort of textbook example of what felt like AEW pay-per-views were being flooded with at the expense of anticipation and like more engaging and absorbing storytelling and things that really mattered. Like this only matters in the sense that there is a Kyle O'Reilly ascension plan that seems to go through the TNT title.
Fletcher, you mean?
Sorry, Fletcher, Kyle Fletcher. And as a result, 4 of them in there are just in there to exhilarate with moves. But the game has changed now. People exhilarate with moves all the time. So they're just in there to exhilarate with the moves and like progress that story. But this, I think, is the only example of that on this entire card.
Yeah.
So there is a place for it. It goes anywhere. The opener would very much be akin to a New Japan opener, wouldn't it? Where the card is
like a multi-man tag, 10 minutes, just absolutely breathless, lean, not an ounce of fat on it. Just like that splash of cold water to the face versus stew for breakfast.
Yeah.
That problem has happened. And maybe it's not a problem because, wrestling's apparently in this boom period, competition's great, yada, yada, yada. It could be perfect if you wanted, and I don't know why you wouldn't strive for perfection. There are certain 20-minute matches or like 16-minute matches, right, that I'm like, what an opener. No, what a great match to go on first at a pay-per-view without being an opener. Like MJF Derby.
Yep.
Like the women's triple threat at WrestleMania Night 2. Like, I still think the absolute ideal is Rey Mysterio versus Kurt Angle, less than 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like a splash of cold water to the face. Because of... Like SummerSlam,
it can be pulsating without needing to compromise on anything. Yeah, there's no.
New Japan have got it right in their peak, and for whatever reason, considering they set the standard, they elevated the standard, they ultimately created the appetite for AEW because, quite frankly, a lot of it was, New Japan's great, still a bit inaccessible, even if you've got the English commentary and the streaming.
Don't tweet about it.
Don't tweet about it. But like, surely considering that birthed AEW's success eventually compelled WWE to go, hang on, we need to do something about this. Our reputation is in tatters here. Why wouldn't you learn that lesson from the company that changed everything in pro wrestling in the States for the better? But I still think it'll be a great match wherever it falls on the card and however long it lasts.
On this, just really briefly, and I'd love to hear from anybody in the comments or on Twitter if you go into this show. I know we've got some listeners and viewers in Arizona. What a feeling it is when you are at a wrestling show and it is a big card. Let's say it's a major pay-per-view or PLE or something. And the feeling isn't, there's still that before the main event. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Like, this going on first kind of removes that. Not to be cruel with this match, but at any point, there's still 8 matches to go. And inevitably, people in the stands will forget there's this.
Yeah.
Oh, there was that.
Yeah.
I forgot. Whereas if it's this still to come, there might be that sense of, I kind of just want to get Osprey hanger now.
Yeah.
Like, it's perfect for the opener or an early spot. For so many reasons for the live crowd as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. So I think this is an astute choice of opener. If I was booking the card, I would open with this match. Now, long-time listeners of the preview will be thinking, hang on, Sidgwick, where is the agenda that you will not stop talking about every single time we do this? I've got some pretty decent news about that, but we'll get to that shortly. Before that, we get to another choice of opener, and that could be Ricochet versus Mark Briscoe in a stretcher match. Now, I have a feeling this is going to be absolutely incredible. Sabu was famous for the stretcher match in ECW. It's not necessarily synonymous with him, but he had a very famous stretcher match and more than one and all the rest of it. It was a gimmick he excelled at. Mark Briscoe, you can tell from his use of the chair, the triple jump, loves Sabu. He even tweeted when Sabu passed away very recently, like, I would not be the wrestler I am. I don't even know if I would be a wrestler, or words to that effect. Yeah. I'm paraphrasing, without Sabu's influence. This feels like a Sabu tribute match. In everything but name.
Triple jump City Jones.
Triple jumps all over the place. Now, in addition to just being potentially like this nice, really nice touch to Sabu, who will inevitably get referenced on commentary, you might even see a callback spot. And Mark Briscoe, even without this sort of like approach, like way into the match, if you like, is an absolute lunatic in the ring. He has been involved in some of the most violent matches in professional wrestling history. Some of his stuff with the Briscoes and Ring of Honor, like the ladder wars with like Steen Erico. I mean, we're talking, how does Mark Briscoe still move like he did 20 years ago?
Yeah.
I think he's one of the most underrated athletes and hardmen in all of wrestling, considering how much he's put himself through. And you look at, I don't know, like, don't want to be... It's just a way to put him over. But if you look at someone like Kota Ibushi, and if you look at, one of the opposite sides of those matches, Sami Zayn, he moves better than so many of his contemporaries. So anyway, I think Mark Briscoe in a match that allows him to use weapons and the like will just be phenomenal. It always is. And because Ricochet has grasped and just ran away and sprinted with like muscle speed, with this heel character that's utterly tremendous, like, it's going to be so cathartic when he's stooging and just basically being a complete dickhead. And you could say, like, he's bald. Like, get on him. Like, I think this could be phenomenally entertaining. Like, really, really violent in a way you're not expecting from the match that isn't Anarchy in the Arena. And really cathartic, because Ricochet is going to get his ass kicked. I think he should do the job here.
All right,
get his win back against Kevin Knight. But we'll see. Ultimately, I think, again, if this doesn't go too long, this could be a proper show stealer of a match. This, I genuinely think it's got something. And on why I think it should potentially open, you want to separate this from Anarchy in the Arena.
Yeah.
I think you should open with this, then get the fans on board. Right, you've had your violent plunder match. Right, now let's go for some breathless trios action, potentially. That could go number 2, and then you can go for your sort of entertainment gaga with a World Tag Team title match, I just think that AEW has a weird habit of, like, smudging together almost its violent matches on pay-per-view. Like, remember Revolution 2021? They did the ladder match, followed by the cinematic match, followed by the exploding barbed wire death match. And I'm thinking, by the time the death match was happening, I was like, I've seen a lot of violence in spots. What we're doing here. So I think it would be wise of them to space that out. Yeah,
that's a good point, because there's no real need for a load of weaponry elsewhere on the show beyond that, is there? So you mentioned Mark Briscoe winning. It's not a stretcher over a line, is it? It's a stretcher into an ambulance or something.
I actually don't know. They mentioned it on commentary, and I've completely forgotten. I mean, I should be.
But I might agree.
Meant to be the old subject matter expert here doing a podcast, but I have not done my job, evidently.
No, but maybe I was listening. It became a bit of a grey area, because obviously you've seen stretcher matches where it's just about putting them on it as if it was a casket. Then you've got to wheel them past a line, or sometimes it's into the ambulance, isn't it? And there's a little thing parked up there. And it'd be atypical of AEW not to have some sort of very creative finish in mind.
Yeah.
So, like, what I've been really impressed with Ricochet of late, when he first turned heel, and it was especially notable.
I knew instantly it was going to be great, by the way. I remember tweeting about it.
Yeah. But the match the one I'm thinking of is the Zack Sabre Jr. match in New Japan.
Renee going, what the hell was that? What the hell? He's giving me the egg.
Because he had the first week where people were like, I think they're making him a heel.
Yeah.
But it was more, what are you doing, AEW? It's like something really good. It's hiding under here. But the match he had with Zack at Wrestle Kingdom didn't really exploit the character.
No.
He kind of just
he's still getting to grips with it.
Just did his moves. And I think of late, that's where the change has been. There has been a lot of stuff that he's been able to just rebadge a bit into heel offense. And the idea of strapping Mark Briscoe to the stretcher before he does, let's say, I don't know, a springboard shooting star press to Briscoe, who literally cannot move, arms down. That's how you add cruelty to something that is undeniably spectacular, don't you? The prospect of it being ambulance doors, and Ricochet is like, so he's feeling cocky. He's probably having a good laugh. What's he doing? He's probably chucking away. And then he opens the door, and it's Zach Gowen sat in the ambulance with his leg and he wallops him on like a revenge attack. There's like ways to use what Ricochet's been doing on TV for him to potentially lose, but I just cannot see him losing. I think they've positioned Ricochet in such a way where the wins and losses are mattering. I know there's potentially no pin, it's something.
Yeah.
But
you could say that as well in the aftermath. I never got pinned off Mark Briscoe.
Yeah,
and I hate it, but when a heel character says it, it's almost
that's
fine.
when you're allowed, yeah. But I just feel like the machine is behind Ricochet in a really satisfying way. You kind of want him to lose when it matters the most rather than lose on his own little ascension. Yeah. It's interesting that like Will Osprey is ascending at the same time because a Will Osprey Ricochet AEW World Title match.
It looks so much
these
better
current
now.
guises it's so thrilling, isn't it?
It's like so wild how much AEW has changed for the better, even since last year. Like I know the Death Riders were more at large, more cartoonish. It was still more raw, and like I've kind of got used to the trolling at this point. But when they were doing we're doing Osprey versus Ricochet on Dynamite, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, whatever. Now, that match could be great. I know they did it in the C2 again when Ricochet was heel.
Yes.
But even now he's improved and got over and become so much more entertaining that feels like a match that I'm not desperate to see but would love to see. Whereas when they first booked it, I'm like, oh God, it's almost sad that you're going back.
What else you got?
Yeah, you're going back to 2016 nostalgia to try and generate interest in your product. But all right, okay, well, let us know in the comments who you think is going to win before we move on to FTR versus Nigel McGuinness and Daniel Garcia. I like this a great deal. I've got an emotional investment in it because I think this FTR storyline has been plotted brilliantly, and maybe he would like the credit. Who knows? I don't think he likes critics, but I think he likes credit. But I think Dax Harwood is remember when these reports would come out like daily as a new member of the creative team.
Yeah.
What? And like Danielson would say, oh, it's overstated. But then like there was like 27 writers at one point was rumored. I think Voices of Wrestling, who are pretty well connected, were the number might be completely wrong, but it was a stupid amount.
And in terms of the ones that were also overlapping as on-screen characters, there were blooming loads of them.
Yeah, loads of them. Right. Absolutely loads of them. But Dax Harwood has been credited with, if not a formal member of the writing team, but he's one of the guys who gets his ideas across. And if you look at how he's plotted this entire sort of FTR turn heel saga, yes, I think the Outrunners should have been a part of it. Got to kick the Outrunners' ass for how long they were aligned on Collision for ultimately no reason in sort of frivolous matches. But other than that, this whole stuff with Cope, what title should we pursue? Should we do you a favor? Like, I love the fork in the road of, should we go for the trios titles and help our old pal Cope? Actually, no, let's just kick his ass and go for the tag team titles, or like at least set ourselves on the path to it. The stuff with McGuinness and Schiavone has been really well done. Really, really well done. And that's sort of like informed this match. The stuff with Garcia and how it's all been very, very, very deft.
Yeah.
And look, I'm excited about this match. One, the McGuinness thing is still really cool to watch him wrestle. Two, you're going to see the best of McGuinness because he's not going to be challenged with going in there for 20 minutes when he's obviously... I love the Danielson match, but it's not the same McGuinness as it was once upon a time. So it was great, worthy, admirable, if not, oh my God, McGuinness is McGuinness again, you know? But the tag team context allows him to be McGuinness, but with a different set of expectations. Garcia and Dax Harwood have absolutely sublime chemistry. Have you caught up with it yet? You probably won't at this point. No. Their main event from Collision a couple of weeks ago was utterly goddamn sensational. So more of that. They've got ultimate, like, I know you're kind of bored of this at large, brackets general, of like, we're going to hit each other hard and like sell that we're tough guys. They just awoke something in me of like, they really feel like in the heat of their chop exchanges, slap exchanges, like it's so pissy. It's so like they get lost in it. They're not posturing. They really get lost in the idea of kicking each other's head in. And it's awesome.
I hear the wrestler's brains going, you dick.
Yeah.
You dick. Like that's what gets lost.
What if I just get you by the eye a little bit, really give you like, it's just a stinging sensation. It's like, right, we're doing this, are we? Let's go and then have a nice bit of crack afterwards. But for now, I kind of want to hurt you to get this across. They were so great at that, the matching Collision. Feels like a nice way to heat up, establish FTR, win on pay-per-view. The beat should pin McGuinness here.
Yep.
Like, I'm not necessarily fighting for Garcia as much as he impressed me on Collision, but you still want to saved that for him, I think. McInness loses nothing. He's a commentator. You can put him back in this spot whenever you like. People love him. They don't really necessarily need to buy him as a winner for him to be over because he's a commentator by trade. Love all of this kind of floor. That's one of those. And yet another match on this card with a 4-star floor. There's no harm whatsoever in pinning who's going to get pinned, presumably. And yet, even though it's predictable, the story they've told has been so great that I don't care. It's the right result. I'm just a big fan of this mid-card. Really a big fan of this mid-card at the moment.
I love it. I absolutely love this. And to your point about getting a bit of fatigue with the forearm battles, or everybody just stands back up and pretends that they're the hardest in the room.
And Dax is a big puncher as well. He's refreshing.
Yeah. I don't care as much when I'm actually locked into the hostilities between the characters, and that's what up and down this card and AEW's booking of late has gone back to thinking about. Like this FTR run, I think a lot of us could book, and I think we previewed it and foresaw that there would be the trios thing would be the last point at which like rated FTR would be a thing. That would be where the tipping point would be between them. What I've been so impressed with here is in looking around at this roster for a tag team for FTR to beat and to be particularly cruel to. They've landed on Daniel Garcia plus a commentator.
Maybe Tony Khan has booked the whole thing. Yeah. Maybe he has. But if Dax Harwood has thought this is the way to get us in this, because we know the tag team division isn't amazing. I think he's got a really sharp wrestling.
He's gone
mind.
looking for heat more than he's gone looking for match quality.
Yeah,
FTR have needed to do that for a long time.
Yeah.
But you used to say like what are you?
Yeah.
Like, if you're such throwbacks, why are you actually working contemporary tag style?
Yeah.
Like this is them, the heels first and foremost.
It's like old school. It's like they were doing the contemporary style, wearing the mask of old school style, and I saw through it. I could see the mask, but no, I'm with you. No longer.
This is way closer to old school. Like they're picking on a retiree who's a commentator, effectively, and like a young guy that is showing such a babyface trait to help this commentator as well. Obviously, yeah, I'm with you. McInness needs to get beat here. I would have him spike pile drove for the win, so he's got to wear a neck brace. And it's like, that's particular. You dicks.
A visual reminder on every show.
Yeah,
Not that many people are watching Collision, but you know what I mean? Like a visual reminder.
There's the neck brace. It's like Nigel McInness was allowed to dream to work the odd match, and he was still disciplined enough to not take the piss. FTR were the ones that drew him out the desk.
Yeah.
And look at the consequences of that, because who else has had like a history of neck injuries? It's Cope. And when he comes back, and who else wears a turtleneck? It's Christian Cage, and that's that match is the direction, isn't it? It's like, this is what I get excited about. I want a fantasy book, and I want to think about not just what we're watching, what we've got to come. And All In's in Canada, so FTR versus Cope and Christian. There's no better place for that match than Toronto, is there? Like, that's where Edge and Christian come back together again in Toronto as hometown baby faces against these bastards.
Yeah.
Like,
it's all good stuff.
Dax must be drooling at the prospect of like this potentially mapping out. So you taking out an old guy with neck trouble en route to that. It's perfect.
And that's yet another example of why, realistically, this AEW comeback actually feels on. I understand as well. Thank you. But can I just say as well, before we get to the next match to preview, there are a lot of listeners we are very, very grateful to have who, since September 2022, I'd like to think we've never done Rage Bait. Might have done the odd title. We might have been passionate about it and thought, oh, we'll be hyperbolic about this. Not as a conscious choice, but like, it's doomsday, and then it probably wasn't, but you know.
They know the people you're talking about. We're not those people.
There's been 2 years where, and I've said this on pods before, I'll say it again because I think it's important. If the tone is apathy, and match was good on Collision. If the tone is apathy, that's going to be the tone, because I just don't understand how people can pretend to love something when they don't, you know. Thank you for persevering with us, because I know we got a lot of flack. I don't think it was necessarily warranted in 2023, especially when go back and watch those Adam Cole and Roderick Strong skits and tell me this is that's as good as this, and it's been good the whole way. No, it hasn't. There's been a dip in form. We told you about it at the time, and there's now been a recovery. Thank you for persevering with our coverage, genuinely, because it's so nice to feel genuinely excited about it all over again. And on the subject, yet again, of improvements, because this FTR thing's another thing where great now could be even better in about 4 months' time. And that is absolutely vital to this so-called Fable feeling, right? And on the subject of, worthy praise, genuinely, improvements have been made and must be put over on this podcast, right? here's where the agenda is not actually happening. I've said on virtually every preview for about 2 years at this point on a pay-per-view, the women's match should go first because I've got a feeling for whatever reason it's not going to get a big hot reaction in the building. Therefore, you manufacture it and you give the women's wrestlers an actual profile. You give them, I don't know, I always use the example of like a Reddit thread or some engagement post on X or a list of best opening matches. There's not a single AEW women's match could be on there. Yeah. And that's how these things get remembered. That's a little small part in how you build the legacy. You know, these are featured spots for a reason. The 2 women's matches on this card don't need it. They don't need it at all. They are 2 massive stars, respectively, going up against 2 wrestlers who are really over and could get even more over. The first we're going to preview is the Women's World title. It is timeless Toni Storm, who could potentially be, look at the top of the hour she's getting all the time, you know, or has been getting. Look how over she is. Look at those reactions. Look at that body of work she's compiled in character. She's got the CM Punk thing in that ring, on that microphone, even on commentary. If there's a version of that in AEW, it is absolutely timeless Toni Storm, who doesn't need to be patronized. Oh,
Time bomb.
Yep. Is that anything? Who doesn't need, maybe it's condescending, my whole thing, the whole time. I don't know. Pull me up on it if it is. She doesn't either.
She'll be out.
She'll go out. She's the person who it's like, right, okay, well, I'll go out whatever spot you want. I'll get the reaction. I'll get that reaction for you. And that is the stuff of proper stars. And she'll get it because she's the most over wrestler in the company. She defends against Mina Shirakawa, women's world title. People love Mina Shirakawa, who is just, I love Mina Shirakawa. I think she's wonderful. She just delights my life. And she's very over as well. This match should be over irrespective of where it is put on the card. We know who's going to win, but as we've mentioned on the review, stepping on our dicks a little bit on this preview, they have established 2 story beats over television that Mina Shirakawa is the only person who, A, has beaten Toni Storm in the Eliminator scenario, B, has worked out an effective counter to the big package, and C, laying on the drama thick, really thinking about it, really showing some commitment to the idea of not just, we're going to really try and persuade you that there's a different finish in sight here, which I really appreciate. They could have and maybe would have, in another time, just thought, all right, the match graphic sells itself. Mina's really over. She has this connection with the crowd. They are laying on thick the idea that having Bret Harted Toni Storm's knee leg on Dynamite, discovered the counter to the big package. They're telling you narratively, she's got a chance. Watch out for these spots. Watch out for Toni Storm's knee, and get palpitations when you see them starting to do the mat wrestling in the throes of drama at the finish. They've already had a great match on pay-per-view. I expect this to be very good. I don't know if it's going to be great because Mina Fever isn't what it was last year. But
she's meaner
Shirakawa as well. So maybe
it's traditional dynamic here, isn't it? They've tried to establish that kind of last minute, and I think it's for the betterment of the rematch that you've got this most over babyface in the company against Mina's going to be like heart and sleeve heel for the night,
and she's good at it as well.
She's good at it, and I think it's better than just doing the rematch from last year's dynamic where it was like,
should she come out to this abandoned theme?
Do you know, I was thinking about this after the event of Dynamite, that I wonder if they've stumbled into something here, because that really pissed a lot of people off. And if the goal on this night, at least, is to piss a lot of people off, even if, right, it's funny you mention...
I've got an idea for this, but carry on.
It's funny you mentioning Brett, because what if they appear to be illustrating this full-fledged turn, and then it's a swerve, and they end the night, they do hug in the end, and the two of them leave to Mina's babyface music, and all is well again. And it's like the fans are thinking, oh no, we've lost Mina all the way around. And then by the end, you've got her back, but she's lost the match. That's the way she stays over in this character, because they've just flashed up the All Elite graphic, which is wild, isn't it?
Yeah.
She's going to lose the title match. And historically, the only way is down after that in this women's division. But the goal here, I guess, is to get this... Well, maybe they've done it a bit with Josh Alexander. Like, when a company's informed, they can do this sort of stuff. They've just announced her as All Elite, and she goes into a title match that she's destined to lose, bound to lose, and loses, and then the work starts.
Yeah.
That's interesting, isn't it? That's like you've done the situational heel, and she restarts as a babyface and goes off and does whatever it is she's going to do. I love the leg stuff, because I really feel like Toni Storm wrestles now And sometimes you have to be reminded to get on Toni Storm's level. I think, not just us, I think people, whoever, were basically willing to call Toni Storm the ace of the women's division from 2022.
Yeah.
She only arrived in March, but the match quality was so high and the quantity was so high as opposed to many others that already it was like, this body of work's like nothing we normally get in AEW. At this point, she's got that in matches. She's got it in characters. She's got it in how over she is. What a star. What a
She's one of the biggest stars in the promotion's history.
Easily. And what sometimes, as a result, while we're praising so much, gets lost is that she, every now and then, has like a surprise type of match just because her big moves are so hard hitting. And the idea is by the end, she's just simply too dominant and too experienced, I guess. What if the leg is being worked to such an extent that the Bret Hart of it all means that she has to find a different way to win?
Yeah.
And it is one with a counter, and it is one with timeless Toni Storm being the wrestler again because she's got one bad wheel or something. It's the Lenny face for this one. It's the lean. How's this going to go rather than simply, she's got a Storm Zero, bang, timeless retains, you know?
Yeah. She's done well too, because there was times when the timeless Toni Storm character, as soon as she said the word tits on TV, I'm like, I'm into it. It's such a funny thing. And I went, tits up at Wembley. I was like, this is amazing. Keep going. And then it was like, you're taking it too far. Then she was doing the big windy up punches, and it was a bit too broad and cartoonish, the character, but just completely nailed every aspect of it now.
The metal tray for the...
Yeah, that was horrendous. Can you imagine in AEW where there's a belt shot for a near fall in every match? That was a period that went through, and that was your finish. Oh, that was dismal. It's not dismal no more. This match should be absolutely superb. One quick fantasy booking on the entrance. If Mina's going to play situational heel, and they established that on Dynamite, the new suddenly abandoned music starts playing. Right, she comes out, does a dance, then like falters, and then listens to the audience booing. Come on, get in on the joke. You're booing it. I forgot. Sorry, you didn't like that theme. Theme stops, and she goes, right, okay. The same new theme plays again, and just goes to the ring.
Yeah,
keep that up nicely. Right, here's what I love about this card, and in fact, Dynamite brackets general, the entertainment value feels back. There was a weird thing where last year in particular there was too much rubbish entertainment. We're the best wrestler. The feelings back, like a total overcorrection. Now it just feels like they are doing it passionately, and because it's just outright good. Hurt Syndicate versus Sons of Texas. I expect, and this is absolutely a compliment, to be heavy on BS, gaga, interference, like loads of action on the outside and stuff. There's a lot they could do with this match. The emotional component of Dustin Rhodes getting his ass kicked by Bobby Lashley and then fighting back and then just stamping on the mat and being that defiant Southern babyface that Hamflett hates. That could be great. Like Dustin, like on the verge of just pure collapse because he's getting his ass kicked. Then the Hurt Syndicate have to contend with, oh Christ, Sammy Guevara's really good in the air, and we're not. We don't know how to defend against that. They could tell like a really cool match with a lot of different stylistic phases and a lot of different, like, and that can inform twists. Like, well, they kick Dustin's ass, and Dustin doesn't know when he's down, but he's still down. Just whether you don't believe it, you're still down. Oh Christ, here's Sammy Guevara flying through the air, and that there could be loads of cool texture to this. But then also you've got MJF on the outside for the comedy, like the interactions with Sammy Guevara, like him pretending to be mates with Sammy Guevara, only for like Dustin Rhodes to kick him in the balls. Loads of bollocks, please. Yeah. I want overbooked bollocks. A little bit of emotion here and there with Dustin for me. I know you're a Fed guy.
But there's...
You don't like proper earnest histrionics. Give you the ick.
Yeah, earnest histrionics can sometimes give me the ick. Ernest, well, I guess this is my last road. I better be hitting the old dusty trail.
10 years later, well, look, it's my last road.
Definitely got to go now, otherwise I'm going to miss the last train over state lines. Is that
anything?
Is that anything? However, it's case by case. There's always rule-proving exceptions. And the prospect of early in the match rather than for the finish. Go with me here, Sidge. MJF.
We haven't told you who. We haven't gone through who's going to win for some of these. Toni Storm's going to win.
Toni Storm's going to win. We disagree on the stretcher match.
Oh, we have done this. We have done this. So, who's winning this?
Well,
yes, obviously.
early on in the match, right? Imagine MJF drilling Dustin in the head with the Dynamite Diamond ring and Dustin bleeding a gusher at Double or Nothing.
Yeah.
6 years after. And it's like, there's Sammy Guevara, the other original, and he knows that a bleeding Dustin needs help or he's going to die out there. And there's your hot tag. Sammy Guevara getting a babyface hot tag and this final moment of, it's been 6 years and I cannot break through around here. And then that lovely moment of where, like, because Dustin's been so good on the cell, bleeding out in the ring or whatever, and like the damage that, you know, the blood that he leaves behind on the canvas, the damage that he's selling can be all accredited to MJF, which is going to put him in better stock with the Hurt Syndicate. And then Sammy Guevara gets hot tag and the hope spots and all of that, the bump and the feed and everything, and the crowd just going banana and all that. Like, that is, to me, maximizing that type of Southern sentiment and heat, and it's all for the betterment of the MJF Hurt Syndicate story, which is one of the better ones in the company. There's so many wins for me you get out of this, and it is bollocks, but like the bollocks can be great.
Euphoric.
Yeah,
look at Double or Nothing 2023. We were looking to be in attendance. I think genuinely, other than Anarchy in the Arena, our absolute best time on that show was watching the Jarrett, Lethal, FTR. Overbooked in the most entertaining way imaginable.
Yeah, like, and again, where it sits on the card, so, like, this has got, thank you, AEW, range, out the ass on this card, like, so important for an event as the whole rather than the individual sum of its parts. And if you look up and down this, not only does this occupy a bollocks spot, but it also occupies like a bit of light amongst the shade. You cannot apply that to the serious matches. You can't when Osprey and Hangman have cut the promo of the year, you can't then silly it up in the first 5 minutes. That's got to be enormous. Yeah. Similarly with, I understand that there will be temptations with Hayter and Mercedes, but you don't want to go too far into that realm. It's got to be serious. This can have it. This could have it all, like, and not lose anything. Yeah. It isn't devalued. What was this going to be without MJF and without the Sons of Texas? It's going to be a Hurt Syndicate title retention. And some of them haven't been that great.
No.
Like, don't have an ego about this. Welcome in the bollocks, because I think it benefits them as well.
Absolutely. And if you look, right, I know they're presented as these like sort of suited, booted, hard cases. If you look at, have you ever read any Bobby Lashley's creative pictures? They're insane.
One of them's deranged. What was that WWE one?
There's the one where he said he wanted to be a big fat guy.
Yeah.
There's one that he mentioned that I'm not even going to repeat, involving.
Oh God. I don't know. I don't remember.
I'll tell you off air.
Okay.
My God, he's got. He loves the bollocks. Yeah. So he must be delighted with what he's doing right now.
Also, sorry. We were very clear in our stance on the Hurt Business at the time. Way better in still images than they ever were as a TV act.
This is so much better. They're kicking their ass. AEW is kicking WWE's ass, and if you've made it this far, you don't care about tribalism. I can just say it, and I'm speaking the truth.
They were a stable and a tag team booked by a Vince McMahon that hated stables and tag teams.
Yeah.
That's how well the Hurt Business did. An incredible vibe, an incredible aesthetic, but they were constantly swimming against the tide booking-wise.
They're wrestling Apollo Crews literally every week for 3 months. If you go on the cage match, bearing in mind, it was in a residency enforced by the pandemic. That looks like the longest European house show tour in existence. Yeah. Like when you go back and look at like, I don't know, what does Bret Hart's house show look like in 1994? Who's he wrestling forever?
A lot of
Owen. Loads of Owen. They had like the Iron Man and everything. Yeah. Owen. But it's in Rochester, New York, Little Cock, Arkansas. Poughkeepsie. Like, Seattle.
Yeah.
If you look at this Hurt Business, 2020, it's like Florida. Apollo Crews. It's like, it's a joke. This is much better. And I'll tell you what as well, this feels like the kind of match that they sit down and go, I could do this. It'd be really good if we do this. This looks like it would be a lot of fun to put together.
Yeah.
Like a lot of fun to put together. We have got 4 left to preview. What are we doing for time?
All right, we're good. Treat yourself. We've done 40 minutes with 4 to go. So we're coming at an hour. We'll be all right.
That's good. That's cool.
That's cool.
I don't have a lot to say about the next match that I've got written down in front of me, other than I really have fallen for the babyface here. It would be a wild disappointment if the match is even good, even though one of them's not necessarily the most motivated. This is Kazuchika Okada defending the Continental title against Speedball Mike Bailey. We know who's going to win. We know which title is going to get unified with another title. I just love the commitment to Speedball Mike Bailey. I love watching Speedball Mike Bailey. I thought I'd seen enough of Speedball Mike Bailey. Evidently, the guy is just great, so it's good to see him every single week. He's been protected in the booking. Even if this is that Kazuchika Okada has got latter day Twilight Years Okada has got a formula, right? Gentleman's 3 for 85%. All right, it's time for the finish. I'll do 4.5. You can just do a switch. I don't know how he casts this spell on me all the time, but even when the match is a bit like ho-hum, for a large part of the body, like the best example, and I expect this match to be better than the example I'm going to pull from, Buddy Matthews Grand Slam. It was like, it's fine. Holy, this is the loudest 2 minutes on the entire show. He's just got this 2.999 gift to create this just facsimile of an epic.
Yeah.
Every single time. It's a bit lazy. It's a bit phoned in. It's very cynical. I don't know how he gets away with it, but he does every single time. I think Speedball Mike Bailey is in such form and is at this point such a great wrestler that he won't let that happen. And Okada on pay-per-view proper does tend to turn up a bit more. Here's the thing as well. At some point, we're going to have to talk about what they need to do for Omega Okada. I feel like it's better reserved for a Q&A where we'll go really long on it. I think we've touched on it briefly of like, how do you make it big? Are they doing a good enough job of making it big? What you need to do is make it big. Video packages, just off the top of my head, but really stress the importance of this match because it's meant to be big. It is meant to be huge. And I would like it to feel as huge as possible. Start putting nerdy little dorky details that, and I know you need to do it to a bigger audience, but at the same time, I know every beat of Okada Omega. Service me. Is Okada Omega really going to be that match where you think we could grow our audience? No. It shouldn't just be fan service, but it also has to be fan service.
What's the ticket deficit with All Out at the moment? All in. Sorry.
We've got about 15,000. Put that in an arena, and it's an amazing achievement.
It's great, but it's interesting that when I'd be really curious to see a ticket spike off the back of this match because we don't know, do we? What this? Yeah, we have to speculate on how it draws, like in the US.
Yeah,
but it does make you wonder, like what will the uptick be when you see the graphic? Because it's huge, right?
It should be. It doesn't feel it right now.
No,
it doesn't. I feel like a lot of that is Omega Okada was the ultimate. January 4th, 2017 was, my God, there's something that looks visually bigger than WrestleMania and is 100 times better. The world might be changing because we're post-Vince and we're mid-boom WWE. That idea, the mythology around that match was it's the best thing you've ever seen. It's not going to get any bigger and WWE will never get as hot as this.
It's just funny that...
it just feels like...
I know that the wrestling world has changed, but this was a match that at various points was trusted with Madison Square Garden and Wembley Stadium.
I know, but...
So, I know the game has changed.
It's changed too much. Maybe. And that is affecting the pull of it. I don't know. But ultimately, if it's not going to draw 30,000 to a stadium, it's not going to. And I don't think it is. I think the time has come and gone for that sort of thing. As I said, the conditions surrounding wrestling means... I know it's not cursed or anything, but it's just a bit of a, we had it all. We might be getting some of it back with this AEW comeback, but my God, we kind of had it all if you're like that anti-Fed guy. And I'm not necessarily. Start doing dorky little details now to get dorks like me really excited about it, because other than the fact that it's probably going to be great and I'm going to be scared about it not being great, that is the level of my investment. I want to be at this point, you're going to get it, you're going to get it. I can't wait. Just work me, daddy, into this. So I had an idea of start doing callbacks and Easter eggs and all the rest of it now so that I can get into Okada Omega mode, because it should be bigger than it is. Should be bigger than it is. One example of Okada, slow control, exerting control at his own convenience, and quite frankly, at this point, literally leisure. Over Mike Bailey. Bailey gets into it. Bailey gets into it. He finally starts to go through the phase of his big comeback, and Christ, is he going to finish him off here? Okada's dazed. He's dazed. He's just been completely blown away by this last adrenaline burst from Speedball Mike Bailey. Mike Bailey sets himself in position. He's about to do that awesome, for lack of a word, karate kick finish. Mm-hmm. And just the second before he's about to land it, Okada drops to his knees.
Nice.
Mirroring the Dominion 2017 iconic spot. Yeah. Just start telling me that you're already thinking about it. I want the reassurance that it's even happening, that it's going to be as good as I want it to be. my stupid little heart needs it to be,
Maybe this is too on the nose, but like something just distinct enough. I don't know, like Kataru Crusher maybe, that Bailey can pull off physically on Okada, where an Excalibur goes, oh, that kind of resembles, and then it just moves on.
Yeah.
Like something like that, like almost to sort of let the viewer infer that Kenny Omega's been giving Mike Bailey tips on how to beat Okada.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to snap Okada's streak, like, you need to come to me, and you can believe the baby faces in the locker room are having the conversation, because that's Okada's. This is like the diluted version of that, isn't it? He's got this belt. He's had it for a year and a half. Nobody can touch him. Kenny beat him for a belt in those circumstances once, so you can too. It just occurred to me that Okada should have called him Speed Bitch Mike Bitchley.
He should have.
That moment's potentially gone unless he does it in a pre-match promo.
The best bitch machine when he goes.
That's good.
To All In.
I like that. Best bitch machine.
It's all good stuff.
The bitch bout machine.
Yeah.
Bitch machine.
Yeah.
It's all good stuff.
It's all good stuff.
Okada wins. Yeah.
What we need to do as well, and this is I'm going to say this so often so that you remember it and give me credit. We need not to do the full Rainmaker pose until All In. The idea of Okada finally has been met with a challenge in AEW that he kind of needs to take this seriously. Don't squander it. It would be like, don't fritter away in Fastlane.
In these matches that get good, remind me, like, has there been much in the way of risk? No, that didn't mean that to sound as cynical as it did. Sorry.
It's not inaccurate.
Like, I haven't felt it in some of them, but I do know what you're referring to.
His
ability.
He's had some really strong outings.
This
Pac
engine
one was amazing.
Rolls into life sometimes.
Yeah, Pac, Osprey.
Has he done much wrist control stuff as a heel? Because that's something to start dropping back in.
Not really.
Because that's when you start like...
Not that I can recall anyway.
Bailey really starts running him out of gas, and he hits that one desperation Rainmaker, and then for the first time in a long time, the camera looks at the wrists and he's holding on again.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? Okada...
I don't think AEW Productions got that dog in them.
Maybe not.
You know what I mean? That's a New Japan tier thing.
Yeah.
No, this match should be great. It depends how great Okada wants it to be. A familiar refrain at this point. We're going to get to the first of two Owen finals now, starting with Mercedes Moné versus Jamie Hayter. And there'll be a theme across both finals, at least for me, in that these are the matches, even more so than Anarchy in the Arena, which will be ostensibly, or at least more violent in a more bombastic way. I'm going to watch Jamie Hayter and Mercedes Moné thinking there's going to be an injury here. It's not because I don't trust how good they are at their craft, which is ultimately taking a kicking but avoiding injury at the same time, making it look incredibly vicious and these toxic shots. I'm going to watch this thinking there's going to be an injury here. When I first thought Mercedes is going to, she's left the Fed. There's only one destination unless she's retiring, and it took ages, but we got there in the end. I reckon when they first did the walkout, was it 2022?
Yeah, like June, early July.
When they first did the walkout, and I just thought for the first realistic time, Sasha it would have been Jamie Hayter. It would have been Jamie Hayter, because I love it when we're just literally talking about Kurt Angle versus Rey Mysterio earlier on the show. When someone undersized gets a kick in, but can come back. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Like the ultimate dramatic contrast. Like there'd be such good opponents for each other in theory, because Hayter is literally so stiff that she markets herself as Hayter Hits Hard. Is there any women's wrestler from the States better at just taking bumps and looking like they're dead? Looking like they've just had one of these like bombastic action movie scene deaths. No. This is going to be amazing. This is going to be amazing.
And what's really cool is that they've already like allayed, hopefully, I know matches can sometimes be different, but they've allayed any fears of that with having a first fight or two as part of the
it's so great, isn't it?
And I genuinely think how much they clicked in their first couple of physical exchanges ultimately made it the theme of the story.
Yeah.
Get them fighting every week.
Yeah.
This is so captivating to watch them fighting that we
just
can...
for 15 seconds at a time.
Yeah, like a flashpoint brawl once a week is the way to book this story, because not every wrestler has that connection with another wrestler, but to your point, like you do look... Remember years ago when actually fantasy booking between the companies was a thing that you kind of wanted, whereas now it's starting to feel a bit exhausting. There was that, like, just, I don't know, that easy shortcut wrestler A that like resembles in characteristics wrestler B, so they're going to have the foo head, where really it's styles makes fights. And you want to look at like what
contrast, differences.
Like, this was always like one that just made so much sense.
It's such a compliment to itself, this match.
Yeah, and then every now and then one of those happens and it doesn't quite work the way you would want it to. But the fact that early indications suggest this is the magic we all would have wanted to see.
Yeah.
And you're going to get it. And the stakes are really high. Like, what's been so great about both Owens, and like you have to credit last year's as well, the commitment to the booking last year, is that each Owen match, male or female, promotes the other Owen match, male or female, because the stakes are the same. It's a world title. It's on AEW's biggest stage. Like, if you happen to care more about Hanger and Osprey, well, just apply that to this and vice versa.
Yeah.
Because to the wrestlers, it all means the same. And what's been really cool about this is Mercedes, as a belt, yes, she just lost one, but as a belt collector, they are doing that really great wrestling job of simply not saying out loud, you realise if you win this, you've got to face Tony Storm.
Yeah.
Like, we're all allowed to think about it, but they're purposely not saying those words. It's Owen Cup world title shot.
Yeah.
Well, what does that actually mean?
Yeah.
Jamie Hayter, the world champion, is I want my belt back. I never felt like I like lost it in a fair way. Mercedes money is, I'm setting up the biggest match in this company. Yeah. Like, I'm setting up like the biggest thing on the biggest night and all that sort of thing. So it's so cool.
When she beats Tony Storm, that's going to be hell on, and she's going to revel in that.
Yeah. Like, the prospect of that little road ahead is tantalizing. And the fact that we get, I'm talking about it in the same way I'm this FTR thing, the fact that we get such an awesome match that exists for like wider purposes is when a company's firing. And it just makes you excited about everything. This is so cool in and of itself, but everything else it feeds into it is just as exciting. Yeah. Can't wait for this.
No, it's going to be absolutely tremendous. And I'm going to watch it genuinely a little bit frightened that Mercedes is not going to duck in time.
Yeah.
Or they're going to do like some, like the way that like Mercedes is so great at that sort of crescent moon bump, like the backbreakers and everything. It's just going to be tremendous, this.
Do you remember how great Jamie Hayter was at taking the splash on the floor?
Oh, the Riho bump.
What if Sasha,
Mercedes
does a dive from a similar position?
We just had an extra half a star.
Because it's like she does this like snap, bending over back. It's simultaneously bending and a flat back, and it looks horrific. Yeah. Like, and it just puts over the jumper so much.
She does this thing like where she just goes into it, opposing magnet back on.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And she's
that's perfect for a Mercedes dive, isn't it?
How's she going to bump for a Meteora as well?
Oh, yeah.
This is actually going to be, this has got proper outs. There's not a match on here, I don't think. Reaching its ceiling can't be very, very good to seminal. Last two to get through now. Anarchy in the Arena. It's Kenny Omega, Swerve Strickland, Willow Nightingale in the ops of Samoa Joe, Katsuyori Shibata, and Powerhouse Hobbs. 6-on-6 against Jon Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, Marina Shafir, Wheeler Yuta, and the Young Bucks. We've kind of talked about this off and on during the review. So apology, the various reviews have been doing once we've become aware of what's going to happen here. So I'll apologize for repeating myself, but stepping on the dicks of the preview, it just means we're marks and we can't stop talking about things. For me, right, it's not going to be Kenny Omega. Like, Anarchy in the Arena is a formulaic checklist calendar obligation. That sounds horrendous, but there's a good and bad version of everything, even that. And this, for me, is, even though it doesn't really feel like New Jack going into the ECW arena or Elks Lodge or whatever and saying, put that song on and repeat it until that person in that ring is dead. Thank you. Natural born killers.
Yeah.
I can't hang around my mama because I scare her. What an unbelievable lyric that is. It doesn't have that unhinged, oh God, these people are nasty, and it doesn't have that. It's all a synthetic way of doing that, but I'm still massively into it. And I've said this before, very much on a, that was great once, probably won't watch that again. Probably won't watch that again. But if you go, so they're going to do the music intro, right? And there's been some debate about what song's going to play. Process of elimination. Kenny Omega's pay-per-view theme, I'm sorry, I'm getting used to it, ain't going to be playing for 5 minutes. No. It's not.
What is this, a Twitch stream?
Yeah.
Wrestling show.
Swerve, maybe, and he has dropped a new track that I've actually listened to. In timing, you could argue is conspicuous, but you want something anthemic. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Joe No. I wouldn't mind Shibata's. I love Shibata's theme, but it's not happening.
No.
I like Powerhouses, but no, it's not iconic enough. Moxley. I love the Death Riders theme, but no, it's not anthemic enough. The Young Bucks did it last year. Good for Heat. They could pretend to do it again.
Mm-hmm.
This is all a long-winded way of saying it's probably going to be Willow Nightingales.
Which is brilliant. That is so
if it's Willow Nightingales, and it absolutely should be, it's such this... The use of juxtaposition with like someone do a play job instantly. Someone gush yourself as that music is playing. Like chairs everywhere. Like baseball bats. Do a big... like this. The total violence juxtaposed with this music for the first 5 minutes
last year
would
when
be
the Young Bucks,
excellent.
Like, stop it.
It costs us $200,000 like every time you play it.
Imagine them doing it again, and it becomes this like music fight. So you've got Willows, like everyone's like, it's party, and then like Young Bucks like, no, this guy's, and then the baby faces take back over.
Yeah.
It's just like, no, we're getting the party back.
Yeah,
Right,
we need that juxtaposition. And again, so go through the checklist of tropes. So there's the music start, the chaos. Here's a trope that they're going to do it every single time they do this match. It's going to lose its appeal. It can't this year because I feel like it's going to be Willow's spot. I think through necessity, like, I'm not trying to be a dick here, but Marina Shafir can't work a 30-minute match on pay-per-view, even one where they splinter off and you don't see her half the time. Like, you can't have Marina Shafir versus Willow Nightingale doing spots against predominantly each other, because they do pair off, and they can't really pair off with anybody else because AEW nor WWE likes man-on-woman violence, you know? They can't do that for half an hour. So Willow has to be written off and do the big return. She'll get the pop. Blood-soaked Willow Nightingale, another good juxtaposition, coming back to life. It's going to get one of the biggest pops of the night. It just feels like that's the only way to do it. It's the best babyface for the role, and you avoid having Marina Shafir go for 25, 30 minutes, you know?
Mm-hmm.
She's just quite limited. And it's not her fault. How often does she get to wrestle, you know? I've got another idea as well, is that, so we have seen, and God, what an unbelievably intelligent idea this was, Hamflett. So intelligent, so clever. We've seen the Young Bucks at this point in 2 Anarchy in the Arena matches. And once upon a time, before the first Young Bucks Anarchy in the Arena match, I thought they're going to do a secret explosion spot. And I thought it would be Kenny, to be fair, because Kenny loves his explosions. He wanted to do the exploding barbed wire death match, you know. I thought they'll do some kind of gimmick where there'd be like a secret zone away from the fans where there's a bomb attached to a table, or a baseball bat with a bomb, which he did at Revolution 2021. Wouldn't you just know it? There was a explosion super kick in Las Vegas 2023. Last year, can you remember what it was?
No.
They rigged a sparkler, but it's fine, it's great, to a barbed wire chair, and Matt Jackson did it to Dax Harwood, right?
Because I was thinking the blowtorch was the fire last year, but
they did another explosion as well. That's going to be a recurring motif in a Young Bucks plunder match, I feel, as it should be, because it's such an intelligent idea, but so well observed. Yeah. So sorry, man. Exploding knee pads for a EVP trigger.
Nice. Right on, like, someone's face, like double
right
explosion on the face. Yeah.
Right in their face.
Kenny. Right in Kenny's face. For 2.
Have you noticed, though, I don't know if there's a fire risk of the hair going up, because they've done it to Mox and they've done it to Dax.
True,
so there's a theme here.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it has to be Joe.
Yeah, that's fine. For 2. Because it cannot be the finish.
No, but someone can...
Babyface have got to win this, right?
Silly boy. Because if the babyfaces win this, who's going to win the mandatory blood and guts match that has to happen?
Well, let me talk about how I cheered up Andy Murray in the office yesterday.
This match is going to be absolutely crazy. One more thing before we get to your thing, is that, yep, it's pretty cynical. Yep, it's pretty manufactured. Yep, it's formulaic. That actual anarchy of the first match, you'll never get that again. So I think that you could even argue with the fire stuff last year and the Age of the Fall spot.
Yeah.
That there's been an overcorrection of, let's just do the most mad, violent stuff that can be a bit hokey or a bit excessive, but we're never going to get true anarchy and a true anarchic feeling again. overcorrect with like madness. I expect it to go that way, but look, Swerve's in it, Kenny's in it, the Bucks are in it. There's so much creativity here. So more creativity in the arena. Doesn't quite have the same thing, but that's what it's going to be, right?
That's what it should be.
Yeah.
So no, yesterday, off the back of Dynamite, Murray in particular was very disappointed at the exclusion of Gabe Kidd at the expense of some of the lesser members, or just at this point less interesting members of the heel side, after they just brought Gabe Kidd in that way. And then I was like, well, sir, this is the dance. And I still think Gabe Kidd's going to be involved because you have a 3 a.m. taxi queue of baby faces that could be the one to stop him.
Yes.
And that, I think, is where the excitement lays here. Gabe Kidd, it's wrestling. Like, a numbers advantage, that's unfair.
Yeah.
It's Anarchy in the
Someone's
arena.
on fire, someone's got exploded.
But that's how wrestling works. That extra person, that's the difference maker. We accept that. And out comes Gabe Kidd. And I think, like, sort of in order of people that could stop him. Shibata's on the babyface side, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah. So I was going
to
say,
Wikipedia.
because Shibata would have been one, because obviously he was his coach, wasn't he, in the lad dojo, but like not him. So like there is this list of potential baby faces that could be the one to offset Gabe Kidd. There's a little bit of very earnest, I don't think it's going to happen, but very earnest fantasy booking I was thinking of as it relates to the music. And let's say Gabe Kidd comes in early to try and like set the advantage for the heels. Lights off, lights back on, and it's Hook in the Sabu spot, and the Sabu music is the music that plays, because that's awesome fighting music.
I love that theme. It's one of the best ever.
And you get somebody jumping through, doing a triple jump through a table, and that's what takes out Gabe Kidd or whatever, and it's Hook, and it's a nice thing with Taz and whatever. Probably not that, but there's a one. The spot is best saved for the finish, and the two big ones, the two big names. The news is out that they're using the phrase "not impossible" for Darby Allin, old skateboarding down the old mountain, or Eddie Kingston with a gas canister.
Yeah.
Like, there are two enormous babyface pops awaiting here to even the odds and give the win to, because if that happens, you kind of do have to ride the momentum and give the win to the babyface.
And for context as well, if you don't really follow New Japan anymore, they might have even referenced this on AEW TV, I can't recall, but it was in fact in a match against Gabe Kidd that put Eddie Kingston on the shelf for like pretty much a full calendar year at this point. So obviously there's a storyline connection there. Yep, as I said, creativity in the arena more than true Anarchy. It's going to be a bit excessive, maybe a bit silly. There are some potential problems if Willow's not, chosen to do that one spot, but we'll see. Yeah, it's going to be great, but I don't need months of every AEW year to be dedicated. It's not going to be so great that you can justify doing this constantly, even if you just change it up. Because the match is a draw, and what draws in wrestling gets put on wrestling. I'm not naive to that. Change it up. Make it more organic. Do it later in the year. These aren't insights, by the way. These are all very common complaints, but I'm here to echo them.
I kept sort of making in my own head accidental comparisons to Will Osprey winning the world title and Cody Rhodes finishing the story on Wednesday. And I was thinking a bit more about this because there is at various points been comparisons to Jon Moxley sort of doing a speed run bloodline as like a troll heel champion for the point when Roman Reigns was just always cheating to win, for example. By the time Roman beats Cody beats Roman at WrestleMania 40, part of that is because Roman got so arrogant with his kingdom that he lost Jey Uso, and he kind of like lost the trust of Jimmy Uso ultimately, and Cody was sort of surrounded by babyfaces that could help him. Is this a speed run conclusion for Moxley? He loses Anarchy in the arena, and thus he's like, but I knew I shouldn't have bothered my arse with you, the Bucks. He loses Blood and Guts because of some sort of like swerve Hangman thing. And all of a sudden, the Death Riders themselves from the inside are like, I don't think this is working, boss. And then Osprey dethrones him. And then that's like a kind of end of it all. Like Roman disappeared for like, 4 or 5 months after he lost that belt? Like that's your Moxley right out. And like all of it has crumbled bit by bit by bit.
I think that might be an elegant way to do it, but I don't want it to go that way. I want to feel going into All In, God damn it, they're gonna keep it on him. They're going to keep it on him. Yeah. I need that because it's
a different anxiety then, isn't it?
At this point, I don't get anything out of even a less farcical version of the Death Riders, which we are in now. He's not like kidnapping Robert Gibson and stuff.
No.
Like I think there's been a conscious effort and a realization of what went badly wrong for a lot of this. I still don't like it that much in and of itself. It's still very much a don't make it go on. It's all a bit like it's that meta thing. of the super scene, of the supermox, the way he's booked more than... It's how he's booked more than the booking and the story they're trying to tell. I think that's valuable to keep a hold of that. But which wrestler might put an end to it? This is the main event we are previewing. It's Hangman Page versus Will Osprey. It is in the main event. They've told you this. I'm also scared here. Hangman Page is unhinged in some of the stuff he can do violently. Will Osprey, at various points, very often in his career, has been told, you take this too far. I'm surprised he's still wrestling at the standard he is. He will tell you he's made adjustments to his work. He is such a great worker now. It's best exemplified by the hidden blade and how brutal it looks.
Yeah.
That he is so good at his craft where he'll land on what looks like his neck. It's not. He's just timing is supernatural. Nonetheless, that reputation is not unearned. That reputation is very much warranted of, oh my God, the stuff you've put yourself through. People in 2017 were saying he wouldn't make it past 30. The comparisons were drawn with his compatriot, the Dynamite Kid. He's obviously a lot cleverer than that guy. But the fact that it's Will Osprey and he's done well to hang on to it, and it's Hangman, who is the kind of guy who did a balcony moonsault on Dynamite in a match against Jon Moxley. Like he's a balcony moonsault, head dropping guy who, will bump on a cinder block. He'll do the Shawn Michaels thing at Royal Rumble 1998 deliberately to get a match over. Like it's terrifying, this, and it's the main event. I'm even more terrified of it now than I was. The terror's in here. We talked about it at length on the Dynamite review about the emotional component, and they did an absolutely seminal, masterful, genius, whatever great word you want to put in front of it, job of making it feel like the end of the world for the loser. The match quality is absolutely assured. It just is. It's a match of the year contender. It feels absolutely enormous. It feels terrifying. There's very little that I need out of my pro wrestling than what this offers. In fact, there's not one thing. There is not one thing. I want it to be massive. I want it and I need it at this point through saturation of quality to be amazing. And I need to feel scared that they're going to go too far, because the idea through so much stylistic overlap and everyone doing the same things over so many years is that the idea of, oh, Christ, it's meant to be high risk. And a commentator points out, high risk move from out of a Dralistico collision. Is it?
Yeah.
It hasn't felt like that in years and years. With these two, it will.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's Osprey's to win. But we talked about how the specter of Swerve, I'm not going to say his surname because that's too many S's, lingers over this match, and they've done a great job of just folding him in. And it's the key to Will Ospreay's victory we've ascertained, haven't we?
Mm-hmm. I think so. I think it's an extension of what we were saying with Okada and Omega. Whether it's the Swerve Stomp or I think the Swerve Stomp is the one, because I think what that is.
I've got an idea for what he shouldn't do.
Well, I just want to you register the position of the Swerve Stomp before you do it. You do that thing where the audience gets to see it in front of them, and I love that that's the theatre of it all. But this, to your point, you really can get everything, because there is a lot of, I'm sort of experiencing this ahead of my football team's big game tomorrow. There is an element to this match where a lot of big sporting occasions start with neither team or player wanting to make a mistake.
Yes.
And then it really comes to life when one does, and everything has to change.
Yeah.
And you sense that here, because nobody can afford to lose. Hangman and Swerve initially will try so hard to be the mechanical pro wrestler that doesn't make a mistake.
And it suits the story, because for 5 minutes they are, they shared a beer. Very tense. It's competition.
Yeah.
You need the tone to mutate as well. And it's when what you're about to say happens, and that's going to be the flashpoint.
That's it. And then the fact that it's Hidden Blade versus Buckshot Lariat is extra inspired because of all the body parts that these two need to work.
What a counter that's going to be.
Oh my God. The body parts that these two need to work the most are the heads, because that's what they've talked about, mentality. Yeah. This has been so much about each wrestler's interpretation of what it means to win that world title. It's not about, it could be. They could work an arm, they could work a leg, the back, the neck, whatever. But it's been so much about the mental state of both men. Will Osprey believes himself to just be in a different headspace entirely to a Hangman Page that is still kind of broken, really. Whereas Hangman Page is using his own mental strength to tell himself
Page needs the swerve reconciliation to truly be himself.
To finally get that clear head, but he thinks...
This promotion's so well booked at the minute.
He thinks
I
he
don't
can fight
even
through
think
it.
we're giving it enough credit, you know?
And that's good because you want to rewatch this and think about it at the end of the year and years to come. And I just love that so much for both of them because not for the first time in a while, but I think you were starting to get Osprey's measured against Will Osprey, which is a very hard bar to clear every single time. But I was starting to sense the first criticisms creeping back in about Will Osprey's matches. I don't know if you were I've this year felt like he's that's the problem with Anthony Bones. Like Osprey's the real 5-tool player. He's a 6-tool player of anything. Yeah. And that's why he's kind of the world champion elect in so many people's eyes. But I do think there was a small but quite vocal minority saying like these matches are actually losing me a bit rather than getting to the point where I'm rooting for Will Osprey. Hangman Page is the wrestler to pull them all the way back in. Like there is simply nobody better on that roster to grab people's emotions again and say, don't think that this Osprey is the moves guy that you're cynical towards. He knows how to bring the heft. Because he does. Osprey does.
He's great.
And
it's the best in the world.
I think he is. I think he is at this point. And like it took me a long time to cross that.
Was the
Rubicon.
promo the tipping point for you?
I think it happened before that. Yeah. I think there's been a
because your favourite's Punk, but you consider Osprey the best in the world.
Yeah. I need, and it's a feeling, I need to buy that somebody is the total package enough to be the top guy.
Yeah.
And Osprey has, it's like he attacked each argument one by one in the way he does a body part in a match.
Yeah.
And he spent a year doing that. And I think to not show respect to that at this point is either naive or simply you're neglecting it in the matches.
I've got some fantasy booking spots before we draw this to a close, right? But one take on Osprey here is, when they talk about certain professional footballers who've just got this absolutely, it's like the Messi-Ronaldo debate of Messi had that natural talent. Obviously, he's worked really hard and he's studied and he's honed his game and all the rest of it, but he was the better natural footballer than Cristiano Ronaldo, who by sheer ridiculous dedication to his craft got on Messi's level. Messi surpassed him in the end. IMO. It's a different podcast. But the idea of, and it's like Gary Lineker said, grafter wasn't that great. I worked at it harder than a lot of people to become great. And there are wrestlers footballers who squander their natural gifts because they didn't do what Ronaldo did. Like Hatton Ben Arthur, you could have had it all. Anyway, Will Osprey is Ronaldo and Messi put together. You know what I mean?
That's how it's feeling.
Unbelievable natural gift to just put on these unbelievable athletic displays, and then he's worked on his selling.
I used to resent it about him. I was like, I would have that Man City comparison. I feel nothing. You're the best. I feel nothing.
Yeah,
he's
far too easy for him. His layouts get all the more dramatic. He builds on stuff more, and this is where the Ronaldo, maybe even Lampard, that sort of player. Because I said Gerrard was better than Lampard in the same vein, like more powerful, just raw power. Like those shots were like rockets. But then Lampard was like, oh no, don't have the same shot power, but I can work out when exactly to go into the box to get more goals than you or whatever. When he started doing that part of his play, he was like, right, the promos need to be great. I'm going to American TV. I need to do this. How can I do it? I'll just be myself. It's the only way. He's just been amazing at it. I've got a few fantasy booking spots. One thing he shouldn't do, because one, I think he'd look goofy. Two, it's maybe a little bit like, I'm trying to be nasty, not I need to do this to get in your head. Eventually you'll understand. Don't do the gritty.
No.
Will Osprey can't be doing the gritty.
No.
What you should do, I've got one fantasy booking spot where he goes for Poison Rana on the apron, and then it's reversed into sort of a reverse Deadeye situation on the apron.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. There's loads. Like when they do the buckshot hidden blade, does Hangman then duck and do a hidden blade himself?
Oh,
on the rebound from the rope?
Yeah, maybe.
On the swerve stuff, I think, right, you know how the rule of three, it's like, well, it has to be over 1, 2, 3. That's the rule. Or I'm going to tell you a joke, and then another joke, and then, well, this is the last one because it's 3. It's just the rule of 3. You should do 3 consecutive swerve spots.
Oh, to put him down and out.
Down and out.
2.9.
Yeah, JML driver. I don't know how to swerve would feel about it. Kind of Let's burn through 3 of your signatures and do like a 2.99.
The wrestling rule is I can't do them as well as you.
Yes.
That's the Rock stun in Austin, isn't it? Like
or the fact that you're doing a swerve move on me, kick out at 1.
Yes.
Oh, hidden blade, 2.999. There's loads that can do, and as exciting, I'm sorry, as those ideas that I've just come up with were, they'll do much better. They're the best wrestlers in the world. This match is going to have a 5-star floor. It's like 4.5. I think that was rubbish. Sorry, that's how I'm going to feel.
And
It's not my fault. It's your fault for being so brilliant.
I think they'll nail it as well. I have a lot of faith in this.
Absolutely. Let us know what you thought. What your thoughts on this prospective card on Sunday night, Saturday night?
Sunday night, yeah.
Sunday night. Let us know what you think is going to go down, how excited you are.
We'll see you next Tuesday. Because it's a bank holiday in the UK.
Yeah, so we
will be reviewing
the review will be late. We should have squared that off. Yeah, the review will be late, but the best things come to those who wait. So do wait.
It's a Guinness of reviews in a way.
Indeed. Let us know in the comments, 1 to 10. 1 to 10 if you're watching on YouTube, what your excitement level is. I think it's a goddamn 10 for me. Seriously, I'm fired up for this. And now that you've talked about it with me, I'm even more fired up, so thank you very much. Thank you very much for joining us. Where can they catch you on X if you're not on YouTube and you want to give us your thoughts on that?
At Michael Hamflett.
You can follow me on X at Sidgwick. You can follow us all at WhatCulture WWE. Coming up later today when we're posting this, actually.
This could be Saturday, so it might have already been on your YouTube feed, but if it's Friday, it'll be later today.
Indeed, we'll catch up on Wrestle Culture if you want something else to listen to, because that's going out on Friday. Don't forget to subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling wherever you get your podcasts from for daily wrestling podcasts. Again, thank you again, Hamflett, for joining me today. Thank you very much to you for listening or watching us, and we will see you soon.